Ignat drove up to the house, but did not get out of the car. Inside, his soul was still stirred by the conversation he had with his friends. Lately, once every 2 weeks, they, calling themselves the Old Wolves, would gather as their old company in the most expensive bathhouse in the city. They steamed, someone sipped tea because of the heart, the liver, and everything else already. Someone indulged in beer, someone could have some cognac. They had unhurried conversations and discussed this and that. But what else was left for them? Many had already stepped back from business, remaining owners only on paper. Their children had long since grown up and were working in their place. Today, the topic of children was just the one brought up. They were all different, but most of them had a good education and were now at the helm of the family business. The argument arose that money does spoil people after all, and both money and time. Back when they were young, they somehow helped people more willingly. Ignat immediately disagreed. No, I vouch for my children with my own head. They would never walk past someone else's misfortune. Vasily, his longtime rival, with whom he had only managed to reconcile once they both left the business, chuckled. Well, of course, yours are special. No matter how you twist it, the world has changed. Helping others costs you more now, and you, Ignat, are still thinking in old stereotypes. I'm not going to argue with you, Vajya, because if we start, it'll last a week or more. So let's just each stay with our own opinion. At that moment, Ignat even got angry. He had 2 children, a daughter, nearly 30, and a son, about to turn 40. Both were well brought up. Both had families. Ignat was sure of them. But now, sitting in his car, he thought about when they used to live with him, when he raised them himself. Yes, but now they had long been living separately. Sonia and their house, Igor had built his own. Since stepping away from business, Ignat had built himself a real fortress not far from the city. Although, in some ways, Vasily was right. The times were different now, and the children too, not like they had been. But how could you even know this? And why would you even need to know? Still, his soul felt uneasy. When his wife had left, and Sonia had been only 2 years old, he had sworn to himself he would raise real people out of his children. They never lacked for anything. Although he didn't particularly spoil them. He took them with him to work, on business trips. He loved them, gave them attention. He was sure his Sonia and Igor were just perfect, up until this very day. But everything was fine with them. Why was he getting nervous? Finally, Ignat got out of the car and immediately saw Zinaida Stepanovna. This very old woman had been working for him as a housemaid since the time his wife was gone. She was older, and he had long wanted to find her an assistant, but she refused in fear. She was afraid. Though what was there to be afraid of? He had built her a house on the edge of his estate, gave her something like a pension, live and enjoy life. But no, she wanted to keep taking care of the house and the food herself. Somebody else will come in here and you'll be sleeping on dirty sheets, eating food that gives you constant heartburn. Ignat smiled, agreed, just to please his irreplaceable Zinaida Stepanovna. By the way, she knew more about him than he himself knew. He tried to forget things, not to remember them. But Zinaida Stepanovna remembered everything. Ignat sometimes looked at her with interest. Her age was advanced, but her memory was like a computer. There was one incident Ignat tried never to recall. Firstly, because it had hurt. Secondly, because it was probably not very decent. And thirdly, even now, after almost 20 years, it still hurt. A long time ago, when Sonia turned 9 and Igor 19, he met a woman. Many years had passed since his wife's death. Ignat had not even suspected he could fall in love so strongly, so deeply, that as in his youth, he wanted to make reckless, knightly gestures. He practically flew on wings, thinking that now he would be happy all his life as never before. 3 months later, when his feelings had not cooled but only grown stronger, he decided to introduce Natasha to his children. It was a disaster. His children behaved as if he had brought a snake into the house. They didn't even try to get to know Natasha. They simply decided at once that they did not need a stranger in the house, that they had lived just fine with their father before, and this woman had come only to ruin everything, to take away their beloved dad. Well, Sonia was still small then, but Igor, with whom Ignat tried to talk more than once, stood his ground and didn't want to hear anything. Natasha understood. She cried, choked, but asked him not to seek her anymore. She didn't want to come between him and his children. He understood everything. He loved her, but his children came first. From the day he saw Natasha for the last time, he became different. His mischief disappeared, the desire to live and to create was gone. Then, when 10 years had already passed, his children asked him for forgiveness, tried somehow to make it right, but even at gunpoint, he would never have approached Natalia again, simply because he was ashamed, not of his children, but of himself, for his weakness, for being afraid of difficulties. Of course, all this had taken place before the eyes of Zenaida Stepanovna, a woman wise with life. She looked at him with reproach. She had liked Natalia very much, and later, after the breakup, she said, "I never interfere in your affairs, but now I will. It won't be long, and your children will leave, start their own families, and you'll always be alone, completely alone, and then you will understand how frightening that is." He knew perfectly well that Zenaida Stepanovna still remembered everything, what had happened, and what she had told him. He was alone. He tried not to show it, but in truth, it weighed on him. The whole next day, he wandered from corner to corner, and by evening began to get ready. He found some old things in the attic left from the times when he was fond of fishing. He changed clothes, looked at himself, chuckled, found a beard there too. Once Igor had been into little theatrical plays, and in his boxes you could find just about anything. Ignat knew what he was going to do. He would ask his children for help, and when they did not refuse him, he would take off that cursed beard and say that Vasi was wrong. But Igor didn't even let him pass the threshold. He called security and Ignat was thrown out. Igor didn't even listen to what his father was saying. After the first words, "I really need your help," Igor roared, "Get out," and pressed the button. Ignat sat in the park for a long time, not understanding how such a thing could even happen. Then he still went to his daughter. She listened to him, then laughed. "Grandpa, do you really think anyone here is waiting for you and will let you spend the night? Why didn't you pick yourself a simpler house? Or is it only in these you want to drink yourself away? Come on, get out of here before I call security." Ignat didn't wait for security. His ribs still ached after Igor's men. He walked down the street, staring at his feet. Well, there it was. It got dark outside. Rain began, and without a car, without a phone, he had been sure he'd spend the night with his children. Of course, he could go back without the beard, as himself, but for some reason he didn't want to. He reached the edge of the village, stopped, then resolutely headed towards a little house. A beautiful house, though not as grand as his daughter's house. "Who's there?" "I'm sorry. I got a little lost and didn't bring my phone." He hadn't even finished speaking when the door opened. A girl of about 17 stood on the porch. She smiled. "Come in. Oh, you're soaked through. Let me just make you some tea." Ignat sighed and stepped inside. "Come into the room. My mother's there. Meet her. Her name is Natasha. I'll boil the kettle." Ignat entered the room. At the window, her back to him, sat a woman in a wheelchair. She turned around, and a trickle of sweat ran down Ignat's back. He didn't manage to say anything. The girl came back. "Well, why are you standing? Come in. Mom, there's a man who got lost, no phone, and the weather's awful." Natasha smiled. "In this kind of weather, of course, it's better not to go out. Lately, the weather hasn't been kind. Sit down on the sofa or at the table. I can't move my legs. Katja will serve us all tea. You know, hot tea with rose hips is the best thing in such weather. What's your name?" Ignat silently sat down, then in one motion tore off his beard. "Natalia, how are you here? I was sure you had left." The woman paled. "Ignat, what are you doing here? You don't live in this village. I'm not even registered."
"How did you find me?" He smiled sadly. "You won't believe me. I walked into your house completely by accident." Katya looked in confusion at Ignat, then at her mother. "I don't understand. Do you two know each other?" "Unfortunately, yes." Ignat lowered his head even further, then looked at the girl. "Your mother is right. I don't deserve to drink tea with her, especially not in your home." He stood, took a step to the door, but Katya blocked his way. "Where are you going in this weather? I don't know what happened between you, but at least let me call you a taxi." Natalia snorted. "Katya, don't worry. He's made of iron through and through, except for the heart. A tin woodman." "Mom, please stop. You two are acting like school children. I don't even recognize you. Where's your hospitality?" Ignat sat down again. Natalia turned away. "Natalia, I know it's unpleasant for you to see me, but what happened to you? Maybe I can help." "I'd never accept help from you." But Katya even stamped her foot. "Mom, what is this? You taught me yourself never to talk to people like that." "That's with people, but this—" Suddenly, Natalia burst into tears. "Meet him, Katya, your father. Heartless, rich man. Never believe that money doesn't spoil people. Money kills the human in a person." The room went silent. Ignat felt like the air was gone from his lungs, and everything around him was sinking into a gray fog. "Dad! Dad!" He heard Sonia's and Igor's voices and opened his eyes. He was still at Natalia's. She was there too, holding his hand. "Dad, you scared us." "I scared myself. How are you two here?" "Katya ran to us, to Sonia's place." "Dad, does this mean we have a sister?" Ignat frowned at them. "Well, go on then." Igor smiled. "No, Dad, you won't get us to say it. When a father dresses up and goes begging to his children, it means he's reached the limit of loneliness." "So, you recognized me?" "Well, of course. How could we not recognize our father? I told the guards to be careful. They didn't hurt you too much. And I called Sonia, and they escorted you. We just couldn't figure it out. Had you gone mad, or were you playing at something?" Ignat chuckled. "What children I have." "As for everything else, if we had known earlier, we would have come ourselves. We would have asked forgiveness from you, Natalia. Forgive us. Selfish people. It's just that Dad loved you so much that we thought we'd never matter to him again." As it turned out, according to the doctors, Natalia's problem was a trifle. She just needed a joint replacement, but her body only accepted one specific material, and it was expensive. Katya and her mother couldn't afford it. Katya was saving bit by bit, but it would have taken a very long time. 3 months later, Natalia could already move without a cane, and Ignat had just finished all the paperwork. He firmly decided that Katya would become his legal daughter. Natalia forgave him, and they often spent evenings together in the garden, never being able to finish all they had to say. And one such evening, Ignat reached out his hand. "I know I made a terrible mistake. I know it's too late now, but Natalia, marry me. Even if we have much time left, I'm asking you." She smiled. From the moment Ignat reappeared, her soul had been filled with feelings she hadn't even known existed. At first, the strongest hatred, then fear, the terror that now, when Ignat had come back, something would happen to him and he'd leave forever. Then relief, forgiveness, and love again, the very same love as once before. And now she knew he would say it. She had always known what he wanted. She just felt it. I agree. I can't imagine life without you, and I don't care how much time is left for us.